The university has more than 12 different schools catering to different disciplines, such as School of Engineering and Technology, School of Medical Sciences, School of Business Studies, etc. The School of Law at Sharda University started in the year 2012, and it offers BA LLB, BBA LLB, BCom LLB and BSc LLB courses. Sharda University has always encouraged a multidisciplinary approach to education, and in furtherance of the same, this year the School of Law also started its BTech LLB course. So the current discussions on law and technology are additionally they are more relevant today because they're also in sync with the university's multidisciplinary approach. I hope all of you will really enjoy and benefit from the discussions. I now welcome Vasu from Legal Hackers India to introduce you to legal hackers and what is the movement about. Vasu, please. Thank you.
Legal Hackers is a global movement of lawyers, policymakers, technologists, and academics who explore and develop creative solutions to some of the most pressing issues at the intersection of law and technology. Through local meetups, hackathons, and workshops, legal hackers spot issues and opportunities where technology can improve the practice of law, where law, legal practice, and policy can adapt to rapidly changing technology. We meet to discuss important issues, hold hackathons, network, and collaborate. We had our first meetup in Delhi in the month of April 2015. This meetup brought together a group of practicing lawyers, economists, researchers, and technologists. During that discussion, we felt a need to have a platform to discuss and deliberate upon the issues at the intersection of law and technology.
How much can technology help in making sure we solve our dispute faster, that our courts are better managed through technology? So what are some of these issues at the intersection of law and technology? Something that we are going to be joined by a very eminent panel, and I'm very, very excited. This is going to be also an interactive event. I think world is changing very fast, where these dioceses have to kind of shift lower and lower, and it has to be like a more consensuous discussion. So we'll try to provide more time for question and answer as well. So feel free to think about issues that you want to ask the panelists. Vasu has already introduced the panelists. Before I do that, just a couple of lines on Legal Hackers. The Legal Hackers is a community which is a global movement. And now we are having this India chapter. Delhi is the first chapter, and it's a very active chapter. So see, these issues are very global in nature. Now I'd like to introduce, pass on the mic to James. As Vasu mentioned, he is the head of Scribble Digital Brand Management, and is also a founding member of Enhelion. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And he has been working very closely with digital brand management. So if you could tell the audience a little bit about your work area and what are some of your initial opening remarks on this topic today.
I'm basically heading the digital brand management team at Scribble. It's a law firm which deals primarily with corporate work, intellectual property, and information technology. And also, I'm the director of academic programs at Enhelion Knowledge Ventures, which is a sort of online education-based programs we have with different universities. And most of our programs, some of our flagship programs are on intellectual property, information technology, and business laws. Now, what I have come across today's points and the discussion topics, what I really think is that, first of all, intellectual property, when you're looking at intellectual property, what are the regulatory compliances we are going to face, especially with many of the new technologies advancing so fast, like nanotechnology, or for that matter, gene modification or genetic research. Because you have to see mostly in the world, you don't have patents for life-based inventions. However, like many problematic areas, like in our country, which is also directly related to economic status of our own agrarian economy, has become a very big challenge. Like most of the plants that are hybrid varieties are being patented under the Plant Variety Act is being done by saying that it is technology related, not life related. because if it was life related, you couldn't get a patent. As far as information technology goes, most of us, if we have read the papers today in the morning, we saw a news which said that everybody, there's a responsibility on an individual as well as government institutions to make sure that the data that you have on your social accounts have to be maintained for 90 days. Now, is this a violation of privacy, or is the government going, the extra mile, or is it overstepping its powers, its legislative powers? So, and the third topic being that what is the problems, or what is the technology, how is it going to help litigation or suits? For one of the topics I will be talking about is how technology, if used properly, could really, reduce the number of litigations or pending cases in the courts. That has been used in like INDRP or UDRP, such as electronic documents. Your arguments are done electronically. You do not have cross-examinations in, let's say, spanning over 2 years.
Do we know the landscape of the necessity, the need that we have? Is technology addressing our felt needs, or is it a self-perpetuating cycle of creating things and a world which is different from what we see and experience around us? And going back again to my days when I was in the law school, Campus Law Center here, every alternate day, about 40 students would go to the Tihar jail, one of the 4 jails in Tihar, and sit there and interact with the inmates there and provide them with legal services. Now, do you think we were qualified to do that? Yes, no? How many say yes, how many say no? Can we have a raise of hands for no? No's?
Okay.
So the majority says no. And yes, you're right. That is what some of the inmates within Tihar started saying. And those inmates were those inmates who were entrenched in the system, who used to earn within the prison system by providing paralegal support to those people. And then our professors were summoned. Well, summoned is not the technically right word, but they were asked to come down to Tihar. And I still remember the name of the DIG prison, Mr. Jaydev Sarangi. All of us were sitting like this, and by the way, Tihar jail has a very good conference hall. It could accommodate about 60-70 of us, and our professors were sitting. And Mr. Jaydev Sarangi made this, important. He said, "I am going to throw a bombshell. Inmates are not very happy. They say that ये तो बच्चे लगते हैं, ये क्या कानूनी सलाह देंगे?" And you know what the answer to this question was? Any guess? Wild guess? Our professor said, "ये लगते नहीं हैं, ये बच्चे हैं." And अगर सारे बड़े अपना काम कर रहे होते तो इनको यहाँ आने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. So that was one disruptive initiative that I went through. And I was talking to Kanan, and she said that legal hackers is about disruptive use of disruptive force to realign the legal system, to realign the structure of legal services that we experience today. So technology is something that will be helpful, but what I want to highlight here as my opening remark is that spirit of disruption, spirit of rebellion, the spirit of not accepting the status quo as it is, and making effort to change that into something positive. Rebellious spirit is good, but you also need to harness it to bring about a constructive solution.
I actually, I want to start with the discussion that, as lawyers, what are our role in technology and in innovation. for a long time, like I still feel, and like a lot of people would probably say that legal profession as a profession changes very very slowly. Okay, like even like lot of things which have become the the staple in other industries, like technologies like cloud-based technologies, which people are using for a long time now to sync things better, to increase more productivity. Even such technology, lawyers are very slow in adopting, right? Now, like I'm talking about lawyers in their profession, like when they're practicing, in their chambers, in their law firms, and they're resistant to accepting new technology. And not only that, if you go to the next level, like what about the courts, what about the others, maybe chambers of arbitration and other places where the legal work is being done, they are even less, like we are extremely resistant to taking up new technology. If you look at our courts, there is so little technology, like it will feel like if you walk into a courtroom, you will feel that we are still in the 70s maybe, like there is no the basic technology which can really speed up things, none of them has been adopted. Okay, in fact our judges are still resisting that we don't want to have CCTV and record what we are saying. And the entire corruption system in the judiciary, which is not people, there's no point sweeping it under the carpet, would have been very difficult. Like what goes on in registry in terms of people paying money for getting their mentions or getting it earlier, later, many different things would have been completely impossible if technology was properly implemented in terms of the entire court management system.
What are some of the technologies that you see are now at the forefront of making disruption? You mentioned nanotechnology, for example, artificial intelligence or something like drones, as I mentioned. What are some of these technologies that are shaping our lives faster than we can imagine? And do you think we have sufficient and adequate laws to address these technologies?
All right. First of all, I would like to ask some of you, how many of you have heard about the full dive technology which is being developed in the Netherlands?
I haven't heard.
It's a full dive technology is wherein your neural system is directly plugged into the computer. It's being developed in the Netherlands. Now, like nanotechnology, what is nanotechnology? How many of you have watched science fiction? And how many of you know what actually nanotechnology can do? Any idea? Just, if you have seen science fiction, you can just, yeah.
It can solve cancer, the way they are going with the cancer cells and the way the medicine is being
All right.
reacting with the cells.
All right. What else?
I think it can increase the lifespan of a human.
Maybe, but there may be with regards to technology or IT or information, what can it do?
Assisting surgery.
No, that is all medical. I'm talking more in fact of communication.
I guess we can remember more things.
That means storage of data.
Exactly.
So if you see all this thing about full dive technology and all, the minute you are plugging in your neural system, your body's entire data can be saved in a particular database. And with the advancement of cloud technologies, you don't need physical servers. So your space is actually unlimited.
Extremely thought-provoking, James. And the way the legal system is not kind of, it is falling short to address some of these technologies is also very startling. I mean, there is a figure that in the next 5 to 10 years, the kind of technology that is going to come up, we don't even have an idea about it right now. So if it's going to take so long to have legal framework to regulate that kind of technology, how much more time that will take is a big question. And can we afford that kind of a delay? Can we afford to take so much time to regulate our legal systems when the technology is moving far ahead and faster than our own imagination? Dr. Chandra, what do you think? Because some of the clients that you have been working with, some of the issues that you have been also addressing through your law firms, are real life issues. I mean, what do you think the future holds for us when there is such a big dichotomy in terms of technology, how fast it is moving, and how slow the legal system is coping with it?
It's a loaded question. I would take this in two parts. In the first part, I would like to respond to some of the issues that was raised
Yes.
by other panelists, and of course to the nice little joke that you had about a person from 1830. No, the person would not feel at home in at least in some of the courtrooms today. At least 5 courtrooms in Delhi are absolutely paperless. So the judges don't have their files, they just have their monitors, and all the cases are on there. Sorry, there was a...
2324, what number?
Yeah. So they'll not recognize, they'll not feel at home there. And
Good.
last Friday we had a workshop on electronic evidence in Delhi High Court. And I didn't have the figures, but then I got the figures from Justice Muralidhar. And he said 30,000 square feet of space has been cleared in the High Court building, and all the records have been digitized. And on another, resistance to CCTVs, we have now a settled law on evidence, the possibility of evidence being recorded on video conferencing. So in matrimonial issues, in whichever, but it's being used in matrimonial issue, and the law was settled in a matrimonial matter. If there is a couple, husband in the US and you have a case here, there's no need for physical travel. Under certain guidelines, you can have testimony recorded by video conferencing. And the judiciary and the government is making a big push on making them more and more, user-friendly and adopted by the profession and litigants. Of course, it is going to take some time. On e-governance within the registry and the corruption issue, well, I'm not joining issues, but if you look at the websites, you will find that today you have orders uploaded on the internet very soon. So you don't have, gone are the days when you had to file a parcha and wait for X number of days just to get the formal order. You can get uncertified copies of any order to read on the internet, maybe in maximum 5 days, usually 2 to 3 days, but 5 days is, I would say, an outer limit.
I agree that both the approaches are pragmatic and make sense, but at the same time there's a major thing that we have really missed out, is that the entire system is restricted to so few people that it doesn't even matter in India. If you look at the scale of how many people are there in this country and how many of the people can actually go and get any benefit out of the legal system, anything at all, even maybe the 0.1% of what they need, they are it's not maybe more than 2% of the people. And the reality is that if you are saying that, and I agree that there are a lot of changes, and there are great lawyers who are making small steps they are taking towards the necessary changes, but it's too late, too small, too insignificant. If I look at, I wish I could celebrate like you do, Mr. Chandra, but when I see actually the people, if today I want justice in a matter, it is so difficult for myself to get it, despite getting a good legal education and having worked as a lawyer and knowing probably a lot of lawyers, the best of them. I still, for me, it is so difficult to get any justice from this system. Okay, and if you talk about people who just need their simple solutions. If to reach educated persons have a collision of their cars on the street, they will get down and fight. They will not try to claim the insurance money. They will not try to go to the police. They don't want. They know what it means. they know their lives will be ruined if they go into that. And that, for all of us lawyers, as as stakeholders of the system, is shameful. Okay, we have done nothing about it, and before we go and it's not something that we can file a PIL or two and solve. There's something more than that, more systemic changes than that is actually needed. And these are maybe there are things like, how can people actually know, like our normative, the rules, the laws that we have created in our country are pretty good. It's actually some of the best in the world. Okay, and the problem is not in lawmaking. I don't think there are new issues coming up and they have to be addressed, but we'll figure out. It's not even like the most pressing issue. It is of course, there are people like James who should keep a vigilance over it, and there are policy makers who will do the right thing in those areas, but that's not really the most pressing issue. Like let's not get kind of into the kind of thinking that if we make the right laws, this country is going to have justice. No, it's not going to. People do not have any access whatsoever. Like nothing is there, absolutely nothing, and there is no denying it. If you actually go and see, like, people who are educated, people who have money to pay for legal services, do not have access to justice. Forget anyone else. People who have access to internet, they also don't have. It's just like such a strange situation.
One of my first case as a lawyer in the Gujarat High Court was a bus conductor who had filed, it was a state bus company that he had filed a case against for 14,392 rupees or something as, meager as that, because he had to, ampute one of his legs because his employers asked him to remain present on his employment even though he was unwell, and that led to amputation of his leg. And when he sued his employer,
we are forgetting one thing. Bangladesh or countries like Pakistan, enforcement of contract, how many contracts would they have entered into? What is the sample which has been taken into account? All those points, our population, our laws itself are so, in a way democratic. We cannot really say that it's the fault of India's laws. It's the fault, I would say, of our lawyers itself, of myself also sometimes. We make it so complicated so that the other person does not understand what I'm trying to get, and he signs on the dotted line. So I get what my client wants. However, I do not look at the very basic elements of contract law. If the basic elements of contract law are not followed, there is no way a court of law can enforce the contract. And obviously, that's what we litigating lawyers look for, because we know that the lawyer who has drafted the contract would have put some restrictive clauses. We will find those restrictive clauses and get the contract to become voidable. That's, whose fault is it? How many of us write in simple English, even a sentence, let's say about our own class projects? How many of you write in simple English what you want to say? We carry it over to the profession. It's not the fault of the system alone, it's our fault also. We are making the system worse. Instead of, and to be very honest, many of our contracts is simple English because we have very simplistic terms. If the client wants it, you get it. Otherwise, you can go somewhere else. Because we tell them it's better to get this right now solved rather than waiting 20 years in court. That's what we are trying to do. That's how we try to make changes. However, the question is not about that. The question, as Sir also said about the BSNL case, the other person did not come. Right now, I filed, I was ready with a legal notice against the ISP for not giving me the services. I was ready to go for the arbitration and thereby wishing that he would, say something which I could say that I will not agree to. But there is a point there also. If I just do not agree to anything he says, even if I go to the High Court, I won't win the case because I have not been, equivalently agreeable. I'm also saying something that is wrong. So when he came up for a settlement, he gave me the same settlement that I was asking for 3 years ago. So the case is settled. They will not allow you to go. So unless and until, many of you may have seen, it takes a little bit, what Mr. Chandra said is right. Many of you may, how many of you would file a PIL?
My understanding of the legal system, which is right now created in this country, it has been designed in such a way that it will help only few people in the top, as Ramanuj said. There is a design fault there, but that has not been by accident. It is by design, and deliberate design is there.
For justifying your fee, yes. So yes, what you're saying is correct. Yes, it is a big for certain sectors. I'll tell you, not today. Yes, I remember 30 years back. Yes, a very senior counselor, I won't name his thing. He was engaged in the Supreme Court matter. Matter suddenly, because he was arguing in different court. Suddenly matter came. 15 minutes was left. Just said, let's pass over. He said, no, we want to hear the matter. He just came running as he has not read the brief as he was started telling the poetry to that judges, and judges were listening him by 15 minutes of wasted at him, and God knows how much 10 lakh would be must have charged for that.
Absolutely. I can name the lawyers even, but I don't want to because they are my seniors. The judge was supposed to rise, and this lawyer had some engagement in different court. And he said that I have an engagement in some other court, and there is 10 minutes to lunch. If the my lords can raise up and take an early lunch, I will come back and you can hear me now. And he made the two judges stand, and they went away 10 minutes early. This is what this system is designed for. That if you can pay a senior lawyer money, good money, whatever you want, you can take it.
The discussion is about law and technology, but it comes to legal system because that's where the buck stops. Because ultimately it is about how the legal system is not able to address some of these challenges that are coming up. But I would like to disagree when you say we are small people.
Do you have a legal services clinic in your law school? So you can take it up as a project of that. And I assure you of all the support that you need, and I'm sure there are other people in the room who would do that.
When the calls are taken, the question is not about whether or not, the police is taking your calls. Do you know that there is a section in the CRPC where you can go and file your complaint per se? It is, how many of us would take the internet and download songs, but how many of us would actually look for what provision can enable us? I'm not defending the system. I'm not defending the system. When I went to the police academies to actually teach them about, IPR, I was talking about IPC, and they came up to me after the workshop, and that they're saying, we now understand what this section means. So is that the system's problem, or is it our education system's problem?
That is a very interesting question.
Now we have got the real revenue stream from there.
Okay.
The police, for that matter, you actually brought out something on those lines. But if you could elaborate more on that, I think that would be the game changer. That from my perspective, I think the bench adapting to technology is probably 80% of covering a huge ground, which is now not being covered.
The problem is about how the law is being applied, how the people know the law. As a lady here had said about the crimes, they are not being investigated properly. They are not being, the people who are actually, wanting to complain about it, they don't know where to approach. They don't know what are the remedies available to them. What is the grassroots level knowledge that you're giving to people? The police fellow, you can, they will frighten, you will have to spend, 10 years in jail as an under trial. How many under trials? You're talking about 706 rape cases in 2012. I'm talking about 50,000 under trials in jails would have been there for 8 years.
Salman Khan gets bail within 3 hours. System design.
How many Salman Khans are there in those 15,000 cases?
Only one. If you have money, you can manipulate system as much as you want.
No, there's a media
Shina
trial.
murder case.
Media trial.
Government decides no reporting.
I think let's stick to the question that he has asked about technology.
ये फलाने जज साहब जो कह रहे थे कि आपके यहाँ आपके चेंबर में वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग लगवा देते हैं, आप बताइए, वहीं से हियरिंग करेंगे, एक बार टेस्ट करते हैं. So it's happening.
At least it's happening.
What I think the roots of the problem here is that lawyers hate technology, and that's like the genetic makeup of the legal profession. And I think the young generation now are doing their best. So what can the system do to integrate technology into legal education, to give it a technological semblance so that we can produce more digital lawyers?
I have a counter question again to the entire audience. How many of you know what track changes is in Microsoft Word? 1, 2, 3, 4. The law schools have this responsibility. When I do a workshop on contracts, the first thing I want to teach is how to use track changes.
So that is also becoming a little bit of obsolete technology, but because you and I use it. But now if you use Google Docs, they have automatic versioning. Any cloud-based technology will have automatic versioning.
But when you go on online collaborative documents, there you have to learn so many more security features. You can do Google Docs is not one of the best versioning control platforms that I would use. But anyway, having track changes is one of the most basic where you start learning. So if you want to drive, Maruti 800 is something that you begin.
Okay. Of course, law students also need to step up and understand the technology better. But the system also has to change. It can't always say, okay, students should do it, and of course they should do, but it has to be both from the top down and bottom up. Ramanuj, last comments from you very quickly.
Like you would see that the most of the I want to just invite all of you to take a look at all the things that law students are doing in the last few years, right? They have a lot of new initiatives which are there in India. In terms of what is available online, it's done by really young people, either law students or people who have just graduated and started doing different things.
To make digital lawyers, how many of you can just, for your area of interest, just go online and get templates and read about the contracts? How much, practical experience along with your theoretical knowledge will make law very easy. Remember, law is simple English. It's not Latin or Greek. If you just
in India, it is Latin and Greek. In US and UK, they have plain English project, which is actually we still call what are writs called? 5 writs to remember, which you don't remember whole of the semester, and then you flunk in the exam. They have plain English writs. Why can't we have it? They have changed it 20 years back. There is no concept of Shishorari. I don't know even twist it.
Agreed. The line.
Twist it. Wear it. Produce the body. And in England, they are using it simple English.
Now the question is not about that. I'm just saying,
In English, project is there.
But still, it's still a project.
It's a project.
It's not a government.
And secondly, there's one more thing. That what I'm saying is that you can understand the concept in plain English. That is not stopping you to understand that in Latin or Greek.
Okay, before I give the vote of thanks and before I invite Dr. Dimri to give the mementos, Dr. Dimri is the Dean of School of Law. He could not make it on time because of some traffic problems. So, sir, would you please like to speak a few words?
Good evening. Sorry, after this enlightening session, I don't think I have got any words, to say to enlighten more you. But one thing, which I can say, even in this enhancement of the technology, the lawyer's role is going to not diminish, it is going to increase more. After Nuremberg trial, you must be heard about Nuremberg trial? Yes. After Nuremberg trial, the Chief of Staff Committee in America, they was examining one young pilot, and the pilot was all insisting, I want 2 seats in the extra seats in the cockpit. So normally the aircraft have the 1 seat. So they were asking him, why you want the second seat? Do you want for the navigator? He said, no, you want for the bombardiers who can help you the bombs He said, no. So whom do you want? I said, he said, I want for the lawyer. I said, to say. He said, what the hell is lawyer going to do? He said, no, at least he's going to tell me where to bomb so that I don't commit a crime. I said. So the role is not going to... Okay, anyway, thank you very much. I'm really very thankful to all your distinguished panelists, I said, and it's really, we look forward to having more of such sessions so enlighten our students. Thank you very much.
Once again, on behalf of Legal Hackers India as well as Sharda University, I would like to thank Mr. Ramanuj Mukherjee, Mr. James, Mr. Maurya Chandra, and even Kanan Dhru for taking out their time and for participating so generously and sharing all their views. It was a very enlightening session. I invite Dr. Dimri to please hand over mementos to Mr. James. Thank you so much, sir, for your presence. Mr. Ramanuj Mukherjee, thank you, sir. Mr. Maurya Chandra. Kanan Dhru. I must share with all of you, she won the Justice Innovators Award from Hague Institute of International Law in the year 2014. Actively supporting. She did all the work behind the scenes.